being excited about the position and wanting to, kind of stay positive, I woke up early and I drove 40 kilometers to the wrong office. My boss met me there and he looked a little bit confused and he said, well, why are you here? I said, well, HR sent me a message to come here. Very casually, he says, that was a mistake. That's okay. You can go to the right office tomorrow. Strike one. So I got to the correct office the next day, and nobody knew where I was supposed to be sitting. No one knew I was arriving. So I sat in the lobby like a visitor for 30 minutes. And then someone came out and said, there's a cubicle over there. You can make yourself comfortable over there. An hour into me trying to onboard myself and orient myself, an HR leader came in and said, I don't come to this office very often. But when I do, that's where I like to sit. So I'm going on a coffee run. Try and find somewhere else to sit before I come back. Strike two. So I went to my boss and said, because he had also come to that office. I said, so I've been asked to move. So where should I move to? And he said, just tell her that I said you could sit there. Okay. So I went back. The office manager was witnessing everything that was going on here, and I think she was a little fed up. When this other HR person came back, she said, Linda is sitting there, and it doesn't matter what you say. Day two, okay? So I figured, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm in the middle of a territorial dispute right here. But what I was witnessing was office politics, plain, real time, right in front of me on my second day. Long story short, I stayed there, and I'll give you the conclusion of the story at the end. Compare this to another company that I went to, where prior to me starting, I kept getting emails from the people who were in my final panel interview. Hey, how are you doing? You said that your daughter plays on such and such a basketball team. I actually watched it. Congrats on the win. I was like, wow, okay. I haven't started, but all right. Somebody else would send me an email. How are things going? I just wanted to check that you got the benefits package from our HR team. Yes, I did. So I was communicating with people before I even started. And then I got to the company. There was somebody at the lobby waiting for me. I had a desk with my name written on it. I was like, yes, somebody was expecting me. So that's a contrast. And I think when we talk about employee experience and what an employee is looking for, we've got to remember that first day gives that impression. Now, that first story that I told you about, I stayed there for 8 years. And people sometimes ask, what are the great memories you had there? And my onboarding always comes on. People during that time, my onboarding then consisted of me sitting in a boardroom and people coming in, trickling in and saying, I am head of whatever, vaguely telling me what they were doing. I wasn't sure how each person's role worked out. People were telling me I had enthusiasm and it would wear off in 6 months. That was my onboarding. So it's crystal clear in my head how that onboarding went. Okay, let's see if I can get this. So today we're going to talk high level. If you want to talk to me after or ask me questions after, you can, but it's high level on an onboarding journey. Ipsos onboarding, challenges in onboarding, advanced strategies, metrics in evaluation, and some actionable takeaways. This is your new hire on day one. They kind of look calm on the top, but they're paddling for their life at the bottom. So remember that. And for many of you who have hiring managers who are not patient, this is them. Your hiring manager is looking for HR. Is my person ready? Are they ready to produce? Are they ready to, add to the bottom line on day one? So two contrasts, your new hire and your hiring manager. And we have the wonderful job of trying to, make that divide and make sure that there is a balance there. So let's talk about an onboarding journey. I think for different companies, it's different. So for some companies, there are some of you that have unionized employees. There's some of you that have non-unionized employees. Some are from manufacturing and some are retail. So the onboarding is going to be different and tailored to your industry. But an overview is what I'm going to go through. So I'm very high on pre-boarding activities because knowing myself when I have changed jobs, before my first day, I'm still in the labor market. So recruiters are still reaching out to me even after I've signed my offer for my new job. So you've got to think about that when it comes to your new hire. They're still in the labor market. So what are you doing? At Ipsos, based on the level or role of the person, sometimes we will send a bouquet of flowers. We're looking forward to you coming. And I remember one particular person telling me, wow, Linda, that was such a touch sending me flowers. I said, why? She said, the day the flowers arrived, I opened my door and I was on the phone with another recruiter who was really selling me on another job. And I got your flowers and I felt like I was cheating on you before I even started. I was like, okay, for $50, I got my new hire. So that was great. So pre-boarding activities could be anything. It could be sending an email. It could be something as simple as I'm looking forward to you starting with the company. It could be the hiring manager reaching out before they came. Is there anything you need before you start on your first day? It could be sending them a benefits package. Take a look through and sign up for what you want. Ask me any questions if you need to ask me questions before you start. So find something to hook your new hire before they arrive, because the onboarding starts before they get there. Secondly, induction and orientation. Goes without saying. There's some administrative work that needs to be done, but I'll talk a little bit further down about some advanced strategies as well. But induction and orientation, making sure that all the paperwork that needs to be filled out is filled out when they first arrive. It's no use if you've got a 30-day wait on your benefit program. It's no use on day 31 for your new hire to discover that they went to Shoppers Drug Mart and couldn't pay for their drugs. That's not a good experience. So at the end of it, you're looking for everything that you can do to ensure that there is the best experience possible. Role-specific training. I know as budgets are being cut, many companies are trying to make one person do like 6 jobs. You have to really tell your new hire what their job is, what it is that they are doing, what they are responsible for. Don't mix it up because they'll never pass their probation, okay? So role-specific training. Mentorship programs. One of the things that we're proud of is the fact that we buddy up our new hires with someone who's been in the company before. So it doesn't have to be that the new hire is on their own and trying to navigate their way around the company. Remember that duck, the first day. Every new hire is kind of looking like confident. They are not, because they don't even know where the bathroom is, right? So make sure that you buddy them up with someone who they feel more comfortable to ask those questions to, as opposed to their hiring manager. You know, every new hire, when I first started at any job, I always think, oh my goodness, do they know that I don't know A? Do they know that I don't know B? Okay, I don't want to ask my manager A or B if I feel like, oh, maybe that's the reason that they hired me. So having someone who's on the same level as me, being my buddy, is something that's helpful for me. Feedback mechanisms. You know, I'm here with a couple of people from my team, and they're asking me about our onboarding program, and I say it's something that evolves every year. If you're not improving upon your onboarding, you've got to go back and ask yourself why. Because the people that you are hiring are changing year over year. We have different generations coming into the workforce. We have generations that have been TikToking all their lives. All of a sudden, we're giving them an onboarding program and we're stacking pieces of paper in front of them. Remember, a lot of people haven't used a pen in a long, long time, right? So understanding and making sure that we have a feedback mechanism from the people who are being onboarded and from the hiring managers as well. Went too fast. And the last was integration into the team. So ensuring that your new hires are integrated really early. This is really important now that we have people who are remote. You know, trying to onboard your remote employee, it's not the same experience as if they come into the office. So ensuring that you have specific programs to help people who are on a Zoom call to feel included and part of your teams. Okay, so a holistic approach to onboarding is what we try to do at Ipsos. We try to make sure that the employee feels a part of everything. And we try it from the beginning. Sarah is my latest to my team. And I remember during her onboarding, she kept, I want to get into the meat and potatoes. I want to do something. I'm like, nope, not yet. Not yet. We need you to know this and enjoy this and buddy up with that person. So I know not all companies have the bandwidth to make it as long as possible, but the better the onboarding is for the employee, the longer they're going to stay, right? Okay. So the first is pre-boarding, building a strong foundation. Like I said, ensuring that you're engaging your new hires with some curated activities. It helps to ease first day anxiety. It helps to overcome buyer's remorse. You know, sometimes people have such a high expectation going into a company. And, you know, they might go in and all of a sudden it's like, oh, gosh, what a letdown. You know, on the website, you guys looked like this and now I'm here and, right? So making sure that you are kind of overcoming that feeling. What it does is it accelerates the time for productivity for your new hire. Because if your new hire feels before they come in, if they have that sense of belonging before they even arrive, it helps them to get immersed into their job really quickly. Tech-driven onboarding, I think that goes without saying. As I said, we're bringing people into the workforce that have been TikToking for a while, have been on social platforms, the thumbs are insured. You've got to make sure that you've got some sort of tech. Use your HRIS systems. A lot of HRIS systems, you can use them to optimize your onboarding. We have a 2-week onboarding blueprint. And on there, that's where there are mandatory trainings, compliance training, your policies, your values, everything that makes your company what it is. It's as simple as having a calendar of what the new hire is going to do every single day. That includes meeting, you know, their peers, meeting people who are doing the same thing. In our situation, we're a global company. So for me, when I was onboarded, I met with a couple of people, somebody from China, somebody from South Korea, somebody from UK that does the same thing as me, just so I could get different perspectives of what happens around the world. And then lastly, feedback and improvement survey. So making sure that you're asking your new hires what they thought about your onboarding. You may not like what they say, but it will help you to make improvements. So having a survey of some sort is always a good thing. Why should we have good onboarding? Well, new hire retention improves by 87%. Remember what I said, when a new hire comes, they're still in the labor market. Recruiters are still calling them. They're still checking. Their resumes are still online. So people still have access to your new hires. But if you have a good onboarding program, right at the beginning, the new hire is already feeling like they are part of your organization. Productivity improves by 70%. I mean, right there, I think that speaks for itself. If you have to make a business case to your business leaders to get some money to improve your onboarding, these are great stats. New hires are more likely to stay with the company for 3 or more years. That stat increases by 69%. These days, it's not like before where you hire someone and you're expecting them to stay with your company for 20 years. I think those days are kind of behind us. So if we get 3 years out of a new hire, I think that's a good odd. What are the challenges in onboarding? Well, there are a lot of challenges. Let's start with one. Lack of structure. Like I said, that first example I gave you, there really was nothing in place for me. No one knew I was coming. I had no desk. I was assigned a cubicle in a corner. People came and met me in a boardroom, kind of said what they were doing, told me that, wow, it was great to see me enthusiastic. In 6 months, I will calm down and, it'll all wear off. That was my onboarding. So there was no structure to that. Nobody was following a blueprint. It was just fly by night, Even HR sent me to the wrong place. I mean, right there, we have a problem. Inadequate role clarity. This is something I hear from HR people a lot, where it's like, okay, Linda, so how do I onboard somebody when I know that the hiring manager has hired this person because they terminated Jane and John and Nick, and so now this one person is supposed to do those 3 jobs? Well, you're already setting your new hire up for failure. And that's where HR needs to be bold and courageous and talk to the business and say, that's not possible. This one person cannot fill this 3 people's roles. So they need to have clarity of exactly what their role is, how they fit into the business. I don't know how many people listened to one of the sessions earlier. People today want to know what their purpose is. They want to know that they have something that makes sense. That their job is not just, leaving home and coming to work and going back and earning a paycheck. So each person wants to know, what role do I play in this whole big picture? Insufficient cultural integration. Well, first of all, this presumes that you have a culture. Company A that I talked to you about, they had a culture. It was a culture of disorganization, miscommunication, lack of orientation. So ensure that you do have a culture, and when you do have one, that your new hires are integrated into it right away, that they understand exactly what your values are and what you weigh their behaviors and characteristics on. Limited feedback opportunities. So no one ever at that first company asked me how my onboarding was. Not even my boss. No one cared how I was getting along. As a matter of fact, no one told me where the bathroom was. And I remember distinctly trying to figure out who to ask. I was scared to ask that office manager that freaked out on the HR person. I was like, wow, maybe she's going to be annoyed with me. But I had to look for the bathroom on my own. Walked around, got lost a couple of times. So, but there was no one who asked me a question to ask how it went. Technological barriers. Still onboarding with paper. That's not going to be a good thing in a few years. Everyone's talking about AI and talking about, being on the phones, mobile friendly. So if we're doing a lot of paper onboarding, not a good thing. And this clicker goes so fast. Okay, so what's the result of subpar onboarding? New hires leave the organization within 90 days because of poor onboarding. 1 in 3. So think about it. If you're hiring 100 people a year, 30 will leave. Whatever excuse they tell you is the reason at the exit interview, it's the onboarding, because they never bought into the company in the first place. 89% of new hires feel overwhelmed during onboarding. And that's understandable. I mean, when I was onboarded into Ipsos, I was overwhelmed. The acronyms alone got me. I didn't know people would say 2 sentences and there would be 5 acronyms in 2 sentences. So I was lost. So just think about that when a new hire comes on. The things that you already know to be normal, the new hire does not know to be normal. 12% of new hires feel their companies do a great job on onboarding. So we're in good company, okay? Not many new hires think that their onboarding was great. So that goes back to the philosophy of making sure that you get some feedback. Get feedback from the people who are being onboarded. They're the ones who are going to help you to improve upon your onboarding program. What are some of the new strategies that are coming out there on the market when it comes to onboarding? Well, it'd be a little foolish of me to have a presentation and not talk about AI. Everybody's talking about AI. AI-driven onboarding tools. There are a lot of things out there. And, people ask me and say, well, do I need to go out and buy a new HRIS system? And the answer is no. A lot of people who have different platforms are able to upgrade and have models that have different things, such as chatbots that are going to answer frequently asked questions, chatbots that are going to tell you what the next step is, that are going to tell you what you've missed. So look into that if you don't already have those enabled in your HRIS system. Gamification techniques. I talked about the TikTokers. You're going to engage with your TikTokers if you put some sort of gaming techniques in their onboarding. Give them rewards for completing something. That appeals to the different type of people and generations that you're bringing into your organization. Virtual reality experiences, those are out there. Immersive ways of onboarding, pretending like you are, instead of shadowing someone, pretend doing the work. This is working a lot in manufacturing companies, where instead of having someone actually do a task, they do it in an immersive way, virtual reality. And then social media integration, making sure that people are using LinkedIn to introduce themselves, different social platforms that you may have, intranets that you may have, where you can use it to make sure that someone who's in country A can interact with someone in country B through your intranet. Mobile onboarding programs, again, trying to make it easy for your employees to get onboarded correctly. And then one other area that poses a lot of challenge would be hybrid onboarding. So it's much easier to onboard someone in the office than it is to onboard someone who's remote. They might be in a different time zone. There might be a communication barrier. They might not feel as included because it's just a Zoom interaction. You know, they might feel that they're spending 6-7 hours just on Zoom completing paperwork. So figuring out ways to ensure that your remote population also feel included. Include them in things like coffee chats, things that are really relaxing, where they can, you know, view other things aside from them just focusing on filling out forms. And then, finally, key metrics. Make sure that you have ways of measuring your onboarding success. At what point in your HRIS is your new hire stopping to complete their tasks? At what point do the hiring managers not want to complete the tasks? How are you measuring how effective it was? Did you get people quitting on day 90? Did you get people quitting on day 30, on day 60? Remember the hiring manager with his stopwatch? Is your person actually ready to be integrated? And then evaluate what you have as evaluate what you have. I'm glad a lot of you are taking pictures so you can read the details of that. Actionable takeaways, be clear and concise in your communication. Make sure that you have alignment with your company culture. Provide resources for further learning. And engagement and interaction is key. Don't put someone in a corner and make them figure out for 1 hour what they're supposed to be doing. So everyone wants to know what happened at that last company. And what happened was I made it my first project to revamp the onboarding program. The end. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Linda. Don't go away too quickly.
Oh,
We're going to get
away.
some questions here. So does anybody have any question to ask for Linda? Yeah.
Hi, Linda. My question would be, you had a lot of statistics on there. I was just wondering where they came from.
Glassdoor, Brand Health, and HR Conference Board.
Perfect. We have another mic behind you there. Thank you. Oh, flip to the right. Just flip to the right, yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
That was loud. Any practical advice on how to measure the time to productivity for knowledge workers?
Absolutely. So, I mean, the best way is working in tandem with your hiring manager. So your hiring manager has to be able to provide you with exactly what it is the hiring manager considers to be success. So if success is being able to do 2 widgets in 5 minutes by month 1, then that's what you're measuring. So working in tandem with your hiring manager to see what success is, that's the best way to measure that.
Are there any other questions? Where did that mic go? There we go, in the back there. Thanks.
Hello, Linda. So
Hi.
I was wondering, for an organization that has different campuses or different offices, how do you standardize onboarding across the board?
Right. So, I mean, that's the situation we're in Ipsos. We're all over the place. There are 90 countries, but our HRIS system is a global system. And so the onboarding is the same. It's just the locality that's a little bit different. So using technology, you're able to standardize what you do across different campuses, but then based on each location. So in Canada, we have some compliance training that has to happen in Canada, which is different from what somebody would do in UK. So those are the only differences. But technology helps you to do that.
I think there was somebody else over here that had a question in the middle. Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, Linda. First,
Hi.
I want to say great presentation. I really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it.
Thank you.
And if you're trying to revamp your organization's program, but you're maybe getting a little bit of a struggle of buy-in from kind of leadership, what would be kind of a first, maybe low cost, simple implementation, but high impact step?
So I think the first thing, especially what I love the most, is as an HR person being able to liaise with the business, because the business only understands money. So no matter what we like to say, you're going to get buy-in from the business. You've got to be able to show a return on investment. So I would say before you even look at a low cost anything, gather your data. Gather and see how many people you're losing because the onboarding doesn't work. What is the feedback from the people before you go to, because if you just start at the low cost, you might have missed an opportunity to actually get a good high cost solution. If you can show data, that would help. But in terms of low cost, I mean, there are things like you can use an Excel spreadsheet to track things. It's just very laborious, right? But you could track who's coming in. You can track what the feedback is. You can track the comments from the hiring manager. Hiring manager could say, my goodness, this person was onboarded, but they can't do A, B, or C. So you can use Excel to track a lot of things. Okay.
I think we may have time for one more question. Sure.
Hi there.
Hi.
Glenn, RBC Training and Development.
Good.
I do some curriculum design, and part of the curriculum design is thinking about the onboarding experience. And I like the question someone just asked about the campus locations. I want to take that a step further. What I tend to see is, and this could be at Ipsos as well, you may have many managers, some who have just come into the role, and then you have managers who've been there for 10, 15, 20 years, and they know the ins and outs of what the onboarding process is. What I tend to see is that managers, not just the locations, will also interpret that onboarding process differently. And then the new employees will have very different experiences from there.
Right.
How, and I think I've seen this trend as well, how do you standardize that process, especially because, as someone said in the room over there, people don't leave an organization, they leave their manager.
Correct.
And I think the manager really dictates this onboarding process a lot.
So I'm going to think, very good question. I'm going to take it out of onboarding. The answer to that is ensuring that the culture is standardized. When everyone understands what the culture is and what the expectations are, it's a little bit different. When I first went to Ipsos, we had that exact same problem. People would say to me, well, I've been here for 30 years and this is how we did it. Well, we're not doing it that way anymore. Getting everybody to buy into the culture really helps when it comes to onboarding. Changing, giving a mindset shift. The culture is where it starts. Onboarding is just an offshoot of your culture. So if you don't fix the culture, then you can't fix the onboarding. Okay.
Great. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Thank you, Linda, very much for that session. Great question. I'm sure she'll be around. The biggest round of applause came from her staff.